The fluorescent lights of Seoul National University Hospital hummed like a dying prayer. At 2:47 a.m., she collapsed. Her body folded against the cold corridor floor, silent, broken, surrendered. No scream escaped her cracked lips. No cry for help. Just the soft exhale of a woman who had finally stopped running. Amora Adeyemi lay motionless beneath the harsh white lights, her braids splayed across the tile like dark rivers. Bruises crawled up her arms, disappearing beneath torn sleeves. Her bag had fallen open beside her. And inside it, something that should not exist. A flash drive. A name. A death sentence. 30 feet away, Hanjun Okoye stopped walking. His dark eyes fixed on her crumpled form. He had seen death. He had caused it. But something about this woman, this stranger bleeding silence onto the hospital floor, disturbed him in ways violence never had. His tattooed fingers twitched at his side. And Seoul's most dangerous man made a choice that would destroy everything he had built. If this story touches your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. The private wing of Seoul National University Hospital existed for people who paid to be invisible. Politicians recovering from scandals they would never admit. Executives hiding illnesses that would crash stock prices. Criminals nursing wounds from wars the public would never know about. Hanjun Okoye had built 3 of these wings across Seoul. Not because he needed medical care. Because information lived in hospitals. Secrets bled out alongside blood. And a man who controlled where powerful people healed controlled everything they feared. Tonight, he had come for a meeting. A shipping magnate with gambling debts had been avoiding his calls. The man was currently recovering from a suspicious car accident on the 4th floor. Hanjun had arranged a brief conversation. The conversation had lasted 7 minutes. The magnate would pay within 48 hours. Now, Hanjun walked toward the private elevator, his Italian leather shoes silent against the polished floor. His tailored black suit absorbed the fluorescent light. The silver watch on his wrist cost more than most apartments in Gangnam. 2 men flanked him, his shadows, his weapons. They had been with him for 11 years. They knew when to speak. They knew when to kill. Tonight, they knew to remain silent. Hanjun's mind was already elsewhere. A shipment arriving at Incheon port. A rival family testing boundaries in Busan. A politician who needed reminding of old debts. Then his eyes caught movement. No, not movement. The absence of it. A woman lay crumpled against the wall where the private wing connected to the general emergency corridor. She was utterly still. Her dark skin seemed to absorb the harsh hospital light, making her appear almost like a shadow-given form. Hanjun's steps slowed. His men noticed immediately. "Sir?" The question came from Park Sung-ho, his primary guard. Hanjun raised one hand. Silence. He studied the woman. She wore clothes that had once been expensive, a cashmere coat now torn at the sleeve, silk blouse stained with something dark. Her braids had come partially undone, falling across her face in tangled ropes. Her bag lay open beside her, contents scattered. She was black. African, if he had to guess. And she was alone. In a city of 50 million people, at nearly 3 in the morning, in a hospital corridor that connected wealth to desperation, she lay completely alone. Something cold moved through Hanjun's chest. He had seen bodies before. Fresh ones. Old ones. Bodies that had meant something and bodies that had meant nothing at all. This woman was still breathing. But barely. "Wait here," he said. His men exchanged glances but did not question. Hanjun approached the woman slowly, his movements deliberate. His shadow fell across her face. Up close, he could see the details that distance had hidden. Bruises. Not fresh ones, not the purple-black of recent impact. These were yellowing at the edges, fading into her skin like watercolor stains. They crawled up her neck, disappeared beneath her collar, reappeared at her wrists. Someone had hurt this woman. Repeatedly. Systematically. Over time. Han-Jun crouched beside her, his movement fluid despite his size. The tattoo on his neck, a serpent wrapped around a Nigerian Nsibidi symbol for power, seemed to pulse beneath the hospital lights. He did not touch her. Not yet. Instead, his eyes moved to the scattered contents of her bag. A Korean language textbook, pages worn soft from use. A wallet that appeared empty. A phone with a shattered screen. Lip balm. A crumpled receipt from a convenience store. And beneath it all, almost hidden by the textbook, a flash drive. Small. Black. Unmarked. Han-Jun's eyes narrowed. In his world, unmarked flash drives were never innocent. They carried evidence. Leverage. Information that could build empires or burn them to ash. Why would a battered woman carry something like this? His hand moved toward it. She gasped. Her eyes flew open. And Han-Jun found himself staring into depths of terror so profound that even he, who had witnessed horrors beyond imagination, felt something crack in his chest. Her eyes were brown. Deep, warm brown. The kind of brown that should have held softness, should have spoken of comfort and safety. Instead, they were wild with fear. Please, the word escaped her like a dying breath. Please don't. Her voice broke. She tried to scramble backward, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Her limbs trembled violently. Tears she probably didn't even feel slid down her cheeks. Han-Jun remained perfectly still. He had learned long ago that stillness was more calming than retreat. Predators ran. Predators pursued. A man who simply existed, unmoving, was harder to fear. I'm not going to hurt you. His voice came out low. Controlled. A bass rumble that seemed to quiet the air itself. The woman's breathing remained ragged. Her eyes searched his face desperately, looking for the lie, looking for the trap. She expected pain. She was accustomed to it. Something dark and ancient stirred in Han-Jun's blood. You're in a hospital, he continued, same measured tone. You collapsed. I'm going to call for help. No. The word shot out of her, sharp despite her weakness. No hospital. No records. Please. Please. She tried to push herself up, but her arms buckled. A soft cry escaped her, pain, exhaustion, despair all tangled together. Han-Jun's jaw tightened. No hospital. No records. She was hiding. Running. From whoever had painted those bruises across her skin. His gaze dropped to the flash drive again. Then back to her face. What's your name? She stared at him, chest heaving. The question seemed to confuse her, as if she had forgotten that names still mattered. Amora, she finally whispered. My name is Amora. Amora. The name settled into Han-Jun's mind like a stone dropping into still water. Amora, he repeated. You need medical attention. You're dehydrated, possibly malnourished. The way you're trembling suggests low blood sugar or shock. Perhaps both. Her eyes widened slightly. She hadn't expected clinical assessment. How do you? I know what broken bodies look like. The words hung between them. Amora's gaze dropped to his hands, to the tattoos that crawled across his fingers, disappearing beneath his sleeves. Korean characters intertwined with African geometric patterns. Symbols of violence. Symbols of power. Understanding flickered in her eyes. She knew what he was. Or at least, she suspected. If you won't go to the hospital officially, Han-Jun said, I can arrange private care. No records. No questions. Her laugh was hollow. Broken. Nothing is ever free. I didn't say it was free. Something shifted in her expression. The fear remained, but curiosity joined it now. Curiosity and something harder, calculation. The look of someone who had learned to survive by measuring every offer against its cost. What do you want? She asked. Han-Jun studied her for a long moment. What did he want? He didn't know this woman. Owed her nothing. Had an empire to run, enemies to crush, alliances to maintain. Every minute spent in this corridor was a minute stolen from responsibilities that never slept. And yet, those bruises. That flash drive. The way she had said please don't like she had said it 1,000 times before to someone who never listened. Answers, he finally said. Eventually. But first. He stood in one fluid motion and removed his suit jacket. The movement revealed the tattoo that climbed from his collar up the left side of his neck, the serpent, the symbol, the mark that everyone in Seoul's underworld recognized. He draped the jacket over her shoulders. Amora flinched at the contact, then stilled. The jacket was warm. It smelled of sandalwood and something darker, smoke, perhaps. Power, certainly. First, Han-Jun continued, you survive. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of the Han Tower in Gangnam. 63 floors above the glittering madness of Seoul, the space existed in perpetual silence. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a god's view of the city, the Han River cutting through urban sprawl like a black ribbon, bridges glowing with light, the distant mountains standing sentinel against the sky. This was where Han-Jun Okoye lived. This was where he brought Amora Adeyemi. She had been unconscious for the elevator ride up. The private physician Han-Jun kept on retainer had sedated her gently, citing extreme exhaustion, dehydration, and the beginning stages of pneumonia. Her body had simply given out. Now she lay in one of the guest suites, lost in medicated sleep. Han-Jun stood at the window of his study, staring at the city below. Behind him, his most trusted advisor waited in silence. Kim Sejin was 62 years old, silver-haired, and utterly lethal. She had served Han-Jun's father before him. She had watched Han-Jun grow from a violent boy into a controlled emperor. She had never seen him bring a stranger into his home. The woman, she finally said. Who is she? I don't know yet. You brought her here without knowing who she is. Han-Jun's reflection in the window revealed nothing. His face remained still, a mask carved from stone. She was running from someone. Someone who hurt her for a long time. That describes half the women in Seoul. Not like this. Han-Jun turned from the window. The tattoo on his neck caught the light, serpent coiled, ready to strike. She was carrying something. A flash drive. Unmarked. Hidden in her belongings. Sejin's eyes sharpened. Did you take it? No. Why not? Because she'll tell me what's on it. Eventually. And she'll do it willingly. Something flickered across Sejin's face. Not quite concern, she was too controlled for that. But something close. Han-Jun, she said, using his given name as only she was permitted to do. You cannot afford distractions. The Kang family is pushing at our northern territories. The prosecutor's office is circling the construction contracts again. And the shipment from Lagos. I know. Then why this woman? Why now? Han-Jun moved to his desk, a massive slab of black marble that had belonged to his grandfather. His father had been murdered behind this desk. Han-Jun had watched it happen. He had been 12 years old. He had not looked away. There's something about her, he said quietly. Something familiar. I need to understand what. Sejin studied him for a long moment. She had known Han-Jun since he was a child. She had watched him build walls around his heart so high that even she could not see over them. She had seen him dispose of enemies without a flicker of emotion. She had seen him walk away from women who would have sold their souls to matter to him. He had never called any of them familiar. "The physician says she'll sleep through the night," Sejin finally said. "Perhaps longer." The sedation was necessary, her body was shutting down. And her injuries? Old and new. Nothing currently life-threatening, but the pattern suggests sustained abuse over months, possibly years. Whoever did this to her was methodical. Patient. Sejin paused. Experienced. Han-Jun's hand tightened on the edge of his desk. The marble was cold beneath his fingers. "Find out who she is," he said. "Everything. Where she came from. Why she's in Seoul. What she's running from. And if she's dangerous." Han-Jun's eyes met Sejin's. "Then we'll know soon enough." Amora dreamed of fire. The flames were everywhere, climbing the walls of the apartment she had shared with Marcus, consuming the photographs that documented their lie of a marriage, melting the expensive artwork that he had insisted they needed to impress guests who never came. In the dream, she stood in the center of the inferno. She did not burn. Instead, she watched everything that had trapped her turn to ash. And behind her, Marcus screamed. She woke to silence. For a moment, Amora did not move. She had learned that stillness was safety, that the first movements of morning could determine whether the day would bring pain or merely fear. Then she remembered. The hospital corridor. The collapse. The man with the cold eyes and the serpent tattoo. She sat up too quickly. Her head spun. Her body ached in familiar ways and new ones. But she was alive. She was breathing. And she was somewhere she did not recognize. The room was enormous. Minimalist in the way that only true wealth could afford, clean lines, neutral colors, artwork that probably cost more than her childhood home. The bed she lay in was larger than any she had ever slept in, the sheets softer than anything she had touched in years. A window spanned one entire wall, revealing Seoul sprawled beneath a gray morning sky. She was high up. Very high up. Amora's breathing quickened. She pushed back the covers and tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. She stumbled, caught herself on a bedside table, and noticed for the first time that she was wearing different clothes. A simple silk nightgown. Expensive. Tasteful. Not hers. Someone had changed her clothes while she slept. The violation of it, however necessary, however well-intentioned, sent panic clawing up her throat. She had learned to survive by controlling the small things. The things Marcus couldn't take from her. Her clothes. Her posture. The expressions she allowed to cross her face. Now even those had been removed. "You're awake." Amora spun toward the voice. A woman stood in the doorway, Korean, older, elegant in severe black clothing. Her silver hair was pulled back in a perfect knot. Her face revealed nothing. "Who are you?" Amora's voice came out rough. Unused. "Where am I?" "My name is Kim Sejin. You own the penthouse residence of Han-Jun Okoye." The woman stepped into the room, her movements precise. "Mr. Han brought you here after you collapsed at the hospital. You've been asleep for almost 20 hours. 20 hours. Amora's mind raced. 20 hours was too long. Marcus would have noticed her absence by now. Marcus would have made calls, pulled strings, activated the network of powerful men who owed him favors. Marcus would be hunting her. "I need to leave." "You can barely stand." "That doesn't matter. I need to leave now." Sejin studied her with eyes that seemed to catalogue every tremor, every flicker of fear. "Mr. Han would like to speak with you first." "I don't care what Mr. Han would like. I need my clothes." My bag. I need to. Your belongings are being cleaned. Your clothes were damaged. Your bag is safe. Amora went still. Her bag. The flash drive. Where is my bag? Safe, Sejin repeated. Nothing has been removed. The lie was smooth. Professional. Amora might have believed it from anyone else. But she had spent 5 years with Marcus. She had learned to recognize when truth was being carefully constructed. I want to see it. Now. Something flickered in Sejin's eyes, respect, perhaps, or at least surprise. You can see it after you speak with Mr. Han. I'm not speaking with anyone until I see my belongings. The two women stared at each other. Sejin was powerful, Amora could feel it in her presence, in the way she held herself like a weapon sheathed. But Amora had faced worse. Amora had survived a man who wore his cruelty like cologne. She would not be intimidated by an assistant, no matter how elegant. Fine. Sejin stepped aside, revealing the open doorway. Your bag is in the study. Mr. Han is waiting there. You can verify your belongings yourself. Amora hesitated. A trap, perhaps. A test. Everything in her life for the past 5 years had been a test. But her options were limited. She was weak. She was in an unfamiliar place. And the only leverage she had was that flash drive. She needed to know it was still there. Amora pushed herself forward, ignoring the trembling in her legs. She walked past Sejin, through the door, and into a hallway that seemed to stretch forever. The penthouse was massive. Marble floors. Abstract artwork. Silence so complete it felt solid. And at the end of the hallway, through an open door. Him. Hanjun Okoye stood by a window, backlit by grey morning light. He had changed from the suit she remembered, now he wore all black, a fitted sweater that revealed the tattoos climbing his neck, trousers that emphasized the controlled power of his frame. He turned as she entered. Their eyes met. And Amora felt something shift in the air between them, something dangerous, something that had nothing to do with fear. Miss Adeyemi, he said. Please. Sit down. Amora did not sit. She stood in the doorway of Hanjun's study, cataloguing escape routes with the automatic precision of a woman who had learned that survival depended on knowing how to run. 3 windows. 1 door behind her. Another door at the far end of the room. The building was too high for windows to matter. Both doors led deeper into unknown territory. She was trapped. My bag, she said. Hanjun inclined his head toward a side table. Her bag sat there, intact. She crossed to it quickly, aware of his gaze tracking her every movement. Her fingers found the flash drive immediately, still there, still hidden in the inner pocket where she had sewn it weeks ago. Relief flooded through her. Nothing has been touched, Hanjun said. I told you, first, you survive. Amora clutched the bag to her chest. Why did you help me? You collapsed in front of me. People collapse in Seoul every day. You don't bring them all to your penthouse. A ghost of something crossed Hanjun's face. Not quite a smile, his features seemed incapable of softening that much. But an acknowledgement, perhaps, that she had surprised him. No, he agreed. I don't. Then why me? Hanjun moved to his desk. He did not sit behind it. Instead, he leaned against its edge, arms crossed, studying her with those cold, measuring eyes. You were afraid, he said. Not of being hurt in that moment, you were afraid of something larger. Something that had been hurting you for a long time. And you were carrying something that didn't fit. Amora's grip on the bag tightened. Carrying what? You know what? The words hung between them. Amora's heart pounded. He knew about the flash drive. Of course he knew. Men like him didn't help fallen women out of kindness. They collected debts. They accumulated leverage. She had walked straight into another trap. I should go, she said. Where? The question stopped her. Where would she go? She had no money. No friends in Seoul. No family who would shelter her without bringing Marcus's wrath down on themselves. She had been planning to disappear, to use the information on that flash drive to buy herself a new identity, a new life, somewhere Marcus would never find her. But that required time. Resources. Neither of which she had. That's not your concern, she said. Everything that happens under my roof is my concern. Then I'll leave your roof. And collapse again. In the street this time, perhaps. Where you'll be found by someone less inclined to help. Amora's eyes flashed. You call this helping? Keeping me here against my will? You're free to leave. Han-Jun gestured toward the door. No one will stop you. But before you go. He pushed off from the desk and walked toward her. Slowly. Deliberately. Amora forced herself not to step back. She had learned that retreat invited pursuit. That showing fear only encouraged predators. Han-Jun stopped 3 feet away from her. This close, she could see the details of his tattoos, the serpent that coiled up his neck, its scales rendered in impossible detail. Korean characters woven through African patterns. A history written on skin. And his eyes. Dark. Penetrating. Holding depths of cold calculation that should have terrified her. But there was something else there too. Something she hadn't expected. Curiosity, yes. Danger, certainly. But also, recognition. As if he saw something in her that he understood. Something that surprised him as much as it surprised her. You're running from someone, he said quietly. Someone powerful. Someone who hurt you for a long time and won't stop hunting you until you're back under their control. Or dead. Amora said nothing. That flash drive you're carrying, it's important. Important enough that you've hidden it carefully, important enough that you checked for it immediately when you woke. Whatever is on it, it's your leverage. Your insurance. The only thing standing between you and whoever is chasing you. Still, she said nothing. I'm not going to take it from you, Han-Jun continued. I don't need to know what's on it. But I need to know who you're running from. Because if you've brought danger into my home, into my world, I need to understand what I'm facing. Finally, Amora spoke. Why would you protect me? You don't know me. I'm nothing to you. Han-Jun's eyes searched her face. For a long moment, he was silent. Then, I don't know yet. The honesty of it startled her. You could walk out that door, he said. Find your own way. Survive or don't, it's not my concern. His voice dropped lower. But something tells me you've spent a long time trying to survive alone. And it hasn't worked. Whatever you're carrying, whoever is hunting you, you can't outrun them by yourself. Not in your condition. Not without resources. And you're offering resources out of the goodness of your heart. I don't have a good heart. Again, that brutal honesty. I'm offering resources because you interest me. Because there's a mystery here I want to understand. And because... He paused. The serpent on his neck seemed to coil tighter. Because I've seen what happens to women who are hurt the way you've been hurt. And I've never done anything about it. Perhaps it's time I did. Amora stared at him. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap. That men who looked like him, who wielded power like him, did not help women like her. That she would pay for any kindness he showed her, pay in ways she couldn't yet imagine. But she was tired. So desperately tired. 5 years of fighting, of surviving, of crafting a cage of smiles around her own destruction. 5 years of Marcus's hands and Marcus's words and Marcus's systematic demolition of everything she had once been. She didn't have the strength to run anymore. His name is Marcus Cole, she heard herself say. My husband. British Nigerian. He runs one of the largest construction consortiums in West Africa. Han Jun listened without moving. He's also connected to organized crime across 3 continents. Money laundering. Human trafficking. Political corruption. He maintains relationships with governments, with militaries, with... Her voice caught. With people in Seoul. Han Jun's eyes flickered. What people? Powerful ones. I don't know all the names. But I know they've worked together for years. Construction contracts that serve as fronts. Banking relationships that hide money. Political favors that go both ways. She held up the bag. That flash drive contains evidence of all of it. Account numbers. Transaction records. Names and dates and enough documentation to bring down not just Marcus, but the entire network is built. Silence. Then Han Jun spoke, his voice dangerously soft. Where did you get it? I stole it. From his home office. 3 weeks ago, when he thought I was too broken to ever fight back. And you came to Seoul because I needed to disappear. Because I knew he had connections here, but I hoped the city was big enough to hide in. Because... Her voice broke. Because I had nowhere else to go. Han Jun studied her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He turned and walked to a cabinet in the corner of the study. He withdrew a bottle of something amber, expensive, probably older than she was, and poured 2 glasses. He returned and offered one to her. Drink. You need the calories. She took the glass. Their fingers brushed. The contact lasted less than a second, but Amora felt it spread through her like heat. Han Jun retreated to lean against his desk again. The names on that flash drive, he said. Are any of them Korean? Some. I don't read Korean well. But I saw characters. Documents. Did you see the name Kang? Amora frowned. Maybe. There was so much information. The Kang family controls most of Seoul's northern territories. They've been challenging my operations for years. If they're connected to your husband's network. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Amora understood. If they are, she said slowly, then helping me isn't just charity. It's useful to you. Han Jun raised his glass. Nothing is ever free, Miss Adeyemi. You said so yourself. For the first time in 5 years, Amora felt something other than fear in a man's presence. She felt hope. 3 days passed. Amora remained in the penthouse, not quite a prisoner, not quite a guest. She occupied a liminal space that she didn't have words for. She was watched but not confined, guarded but not threatened. Her body began to heal. The physician, a soft-spoken Korean woman named Dr. Park who asked no questions, visited twice daily. She treated Amora's infections, monitored her nutrition, watched her weight climb slowly back toward something approaching healthy. But the body healed faster than the soul. Amora spent hours standing at the windows, watching Seoul move beneath her like an ocean of light and shadow. She slept in fragments, woken by nightmares that left her gasping. She flinched at sudden sounds, at doors opening, at male voices raised in conversation. She was safe. She did not feel safe. Han Jun observed all of this. He did not approach her. Did not demand more information. Did not press for details about the flash drive or Marcus or the dangerous web she had stumbled into. Instead, he simply existed. He worked in his study, taking calls in Korean and English and occasionally a language Amora recognized as Yoruba. He met with men in expensive suits, their conversations too quiet for her to overhear. He left the penthouse for hours at a time and returned smelling of smoke and something metallic. But when he was home, he was aware of her. She felt his gaze. Through walls, around corners, across the vast expanse of his minimalist kingdom. He watched her the way a predator watches potential prey, not with hunger, exactly, but with intense, patient attention. Waiting. On the fourth morning, she found him in the kitchen. She hadn't expected that. The penthouse had staff, silent, efficient figures who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. She had assumed cooking was beneath a man like Hyunjun. But there he was, at the Marble Island, preparing something that smelled of garlic and ginger. He wore a white shirt today, sleeves rolled to the elbow. The tattoos on his forearms were visible, more serpents, more African geometric patterns, characters that looked like names. "Sit," he said without turning. Amora hesitated. Then she Saturday. He placed a bowl in front of her, rice, vegetables, something that looked like egg drop soup. Simple. Nourishing. He did not join her. Instead, he leaned against the counter, coffee cup in hand, and watched her eat. The silence stretched between them. It should have been uncomfortable. It was, in a way, the weight of his attention, the intensity of his focus. But there was something else in it too. Space. He was giving her space to exist without demands. Marcus had never given her that. "You don't have to do this," she finally said. "Do what?" "Cook for me. Check on me. Whatever this is. You haven't been eating enough. Dr. Park is concerned. So you're making breakfast because your doctor told you to?" Hyunjun's eyes met hers. "I'm making breakfast because you flinch when the staff approach you. Because you sleep more when you're not surrounded by strangers. Because..." He paused. Took a sip of his coffee. "Because I find that I want to know what you look like when you're not afraid." The words settled into Amora's chest like stones dropped into still water. "I'm always afraid," she said quietly. "I know. It doesn't stop. Even when I'm safe. Even when there's no danger. It's like, my body remembers. Even when my mind knows better." Hyunjun set down his coffee cup. "5 years ago," he said, "I killed a man who had been my closest friend." Amora went still. "He betrayed me. Sold information about our operations to a rival family. When I discovered it, I invited him to dinner. We ate together. We drank together. We talked about the old days, about growing up together, about the dreams we had shared." His voice remained perfectly level. "Then I put a bullet in his brain." Silence. For 3 months afterward, Hyunjun continued, "I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. Every time I heard someone laugh, I heard him. My hands shook. My heart raced. I was afraid, not of enemies, not of death, but of what I had become." Amora's hands trembled around her chopsticks. "The body remembers," Hyunjun said. "Even when the mind knows better. Even when the danger has passed. The body keeps the score of every wound, every betrayal, every moment of violence we've survived." He pushed off from the counter. "You will not stop being afraid today. Or tomorrow. Perhaps not for years. But you can learn to carry the fear without letting it carry you." He moved toward the door. Paused. "Finish your breakfast, Miss Adeyemi. You need your strength for what comes next." Then he was gone. Amora stared at her bowl. Her hands had stopped shaking. Kim Sejin had been gathering intelligence for 40 years. She had tracked defectors across the DMZ. She had infiltrated corporate boardrooms. She had extracted secrets from men who believed themselves untouchable. But this this woman, was proving difficult. Amora Adeyemi, she reported to Han-jun that evening. Born in Lagos, Nigeria, 30 years ago. Daughter of Chukwemeka Adeyemi, a respected banker, and Kayoma Adeyemi, a surgeon. Both deceased, car accident, 8 years ago. No siblings. Han-jun stood at his window, watching the city below. Education. Cambridge University, economics degree, graduated with highest honors. Returned to Nigeria, worked briefly in international development. Then. Sejin hesitated. Then she disappears. Han-jun turned. Disappears. For 5 years, there's almost nothing. A marriage license to Marcus Cole, registered in London. Occasional photographs at charity events, always at his side, always smiling. A few mentions in society pages. She pulled up images on her tablet. Look at the progression. Han-jun studied the photographs. The first showed Amora at what appeared to be a charity gala, radiant, confident, her smile reaching her eyes. She stood beside a tall British-Nigerian man whose handsome features couldn't quite hide something cold beneath the surface. The second, from a year later, the smile remained, but something had dimmed. The third, 2 years in, her face thinner, her eyes shadowed, her posture slightly curved inward. The fourth, recent, a ghost wearing expensive clothes. The progression was unmistakable. He was destroying her, Han-jun said quietly. Systematically, Sejin agreed. But here's where it gets interesting. She swiped to a new screen. Marcus Cole. On the surface, he's a legitimate businessman. Construction, real estate, infrastructure development across West Africa. Government contracts worth billions. Known for philanthropic work. And beneath the surface. Exactly what she told you. Money laundering networks spanning Europe and Asia. Connections to human trafficking operations, primarily labor trafficking for his construction projects. Political manipulation in at least 7 countries. Sejin's expression hardened. And deep ties to organized crime in Seoul. Han-jun's eyes sharpened. The Kang family. Not just them. The Choi Syndicate. Elements within the police. At least 3 members of the National Assembly. She pulled up another document. Cole has been using Seoul as a financial hub for over a decade. Shell companies, cryptocurrency exchanges, real estate investments that exist purely to move money. If Amora's flash drive contains what she claims, it could bring down half the power structure of this city. It could bring down your power structure. You have investments that intersect with Cole's networks. Not directly, but close enough that an investigation could spread. Han-jun was silent for a long moment. Then, what else do you have on her? The disappearance, 5 years of nothing, that's not normal. A woman with her education, her connections, doesn't simply vanish into a marriage. I believe Cole isolated her deliberately. Cut her off from everyone she knew. Controlled every aspect of her existence. Imprisonment. The most effective kind. The kind where the cage is invisible. Han-jun thought of the photographs. The progressive dimming of her light. She escaped 3 weeks ago, Sejin continued. Traveled through Dubai, then Singapore, then here. She's been moving constantly, using cash, staying in cheap hotels. The flight to Seoul was purchased last minute, paid in cash at the airport. Running, but not randomly. No. She had a destination. A plan. What plan? I don't know yet. But whatever it was, collapsing in that hospital corridor wasn't part of it. Han-jun moved to his desk. Cole, he said. What's his status? That's the concerning part. Sejin pulled up another report. He arrived in Seoul yesterday. The words dropped like ice into the room. He's making inquiries. Quietly, through his local contacts. He's looking for a Nigerian woman who arrived within the last month. Young. Educated. Likely traveling alone. Hanjun's hand curled into a fist on the desk. The tattoo on his wrist, a name written in Yoruba script, the name of someone he had lost, seemed to pulse beneath his skin. Does he know she's here? With me? Not yet. But it's only a matter of time. Cole has resources. Connections. If he's willing to pay, someone will talk. Silence. Then Hanjun spoke, his voice cold and controlled. Double the security on the building. No one enters or leaves without my approval. Answer Jin. He looked at her. Find out everything about Marcus Cole. Every secret. Every weakness. Every person he's ever hurt. You're going to war for this woman. I'm going to understand her. And if war becomes necessary. His eyes darkened. It won't be the first time. 1 week into her captivity, her protection, Amora began to walk the penthouse at night. She couldn't sleep. The nightmares were getting worse, not better. Marcus's face hovering over her. Marcus's hands around her throat. Marcus's voice, smooth as poison, telling her that she was nothing, that she would always be nothing, that running was pointless because he would always find her. She woke gasping, sweating, her heart racing. And then she walked. The penthouse was vast. Room after room of expensive emptiness, each one perfectly designed, perfectly sterile. There was no warmth here, no personality. It was a display case for wealth, not a home. But there was one room that was different. She found it on the third night. A garden. Enclosed in glass, accessible through a hidden door in one of the corridors. Indoor trees stretched toward artificial skylights. Flowers bloomed in carefully arranged beds. A small pond rippled with koi that glowed like living flame. Amora stood in the doorway, breathless. She hadn't seen anything so beautiful in years. You found it? She didn't startle. She was getting used to him appearing without warning. Hanjun stepped out of the shadows. He had been sitting on a stone bench near the pond, invisible in the darkness until he chose to be seen. I couldn't sleep, she said. Neither could I. He moved toward her, stopping at a respectful distance. This was my mother's, he said. The garden. She designed it before she died. Amora looked at him. In the soft light filtering through the glass, he looked almost gentle. Almost human. She was Nigerian, Hanjun continued. My mother. Igbo, from Enugu. She met my father in Lagos, during a business trip. He was already powerful then. Already dangerous. But she saw something in him that others didn't. What did she see? Loneliness. The word hung in the air. She taught him that power didn't have to mean isolation. That strength could include softness. She built this garden to remind him of that. He touched a flower, orange and yellow, shaped like a flame. When she died, he closed this room. Couldn't bear to look at it. After he died. He paused. After I killed the man who killed him, I opened it again. I come here when I can't sleep. Amora moved deeper into the garden. The air smelled of earth and green things growing. Of life persisting despite being enclosed in glass and steel. It's beautiful, she said. It was her favorite place. They stood in silence, surrounded by impossible blooms. Hanjun, Amora said quietly. It was the first time she had used his name. He went still. Why are you really doing this? Protecting me. Feeding me. Keeping me in your home while you investigate my husband. What do you actually want? For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, I've spent my entire life surrounded by cruelty. I've caused cruelty. I've profited from it. I've watched people break and done nothing because their breaking didn't affect my interests. He turned to face her. When I saw you on that floor, bruised, alone, still fighting despite everything, something shifted. I don't know how to explain it. I don't understand it myself. His eyes searched her face. But I want to. I want to understand why a woman I've never met makes me feel things I thought I had killed in myself years ago. Amora's breath caught. That's dangerous, she whispered. Feeling things. For men like you. For women like you as well. I'm not dangerous. You're carrying information that could destroy empires. You survived 5 years with a monster and escaped with your soul intact. You look at me, at what I am, what I've done, and you don't flinch. He stepped closer. You're the most dangerous person I've ever met, Amora Adeyemi. The space between them felt charged. Electric. Amora's heart pounded, not with fear this time, but with something else entirely. I should go back to bed, she said. You should. Neither of them moved. Tomorrow, Han-Jun said quietly, I'm meeting with representatives from the Kang family. They don't know about you. They don't know what you're carrying. But they will, eventually. News travels in our world. What are you going to do? Prepare. Protect. And when the time comes. His eyes darkened. Eliminate anyone who tries to take you from me. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. It didn't. I'm not yours, she said. Not yet. The words were quiet. Certain. A promise, perhaps. Or a threat. Amora couldn't tell the difference anymore. The Kang family compound occupied a converted temple in the northern mountains outside Seoul. Han-Jun arrived alone. This was protocol. Sacred ground, neutral territory. Weapons checked at the gate, guards left in the parking structure, old enemies facing each other with nothing but words and the weight of history. Kang Dae-jung waited in the main hall. He was 73 years old, still built like the street fighter he had been in his youth. His face was a map of scars and weathered skin. His eyes held the cold calculation of a man who had survived 6 assassination attempts and ordered 100 more. Han-Jun Okoye. The name came out like a curse. The half-breed emperor. Han-Jun did not react to the insult. He never did. Kang Dae-jung. The dinosaur who refuses to go extinct. A flash of anger crossed the old man's face. Then, reluctantly, something like respect. Sit, Kang said. We have business to discuss. They sat across from each other on worn silk cushions. Tea was served by silent women who moved like shadows. You've been pushing at my northern territories, Han-Jun said. 3 incidents this month. 2 shipments intercepted. 1 of my warehouses torched. Your evidence. Evidence isn't necessary between men like us. We both know what happened. Kang sipped his tea. Perhaps my men have grown ambitious. Perhaps they need reminding of boundaries. Perhaps they need removing. The threat hung in the air. You've grown bold, Kang said. Since your father died. My father's death taught me that hesitation is fatal. You would know, you survived your own father's death. And your brothers. And your sons. Something flickered in Kang's eyes. You speak of things you don't understand. I understand survival. I understand that power requires constant maintenance. And I understand that you're testing me because you think my empire has grown too large. Han-Jun set down his teacup. It has. And it will continue to grow. The only question is whether you'll grow with me, or be consumed by the expansion. Silence. Then Kang leaned forward. I've heard interesting rumors, he said. About a woman. An African woman. Staying in your penthouse. Han-jun's expression didn't change. But internally, every sense sharpened. You keep women, Kang continued. Who doesn't? But this one is different. This one came with baggage. Dangerous baggage. Where did you hear these rumors? I have sources. As do you. The question is, why would the great Han-jun Okoye risk his empire for some foreign woman he found on a hospital floor? My personal life is not your concern. It becomes my concern when Marcus Cole contacts me asking about Nigerian refugees in Seoul. When he offers substantial payment for information. When he implies that the woman in question is carrying something that could affect all of us. Han-jun's blood went cold. But his face remained stone. Marcus Cole is a businessman with no connections to our world. Marcus Cole, Kang said slowly, has been laundering money through both our organizations for over a decade. He's invested in construction projects that we both profit from. He's connected to politicians who serve both our interests. The old man's eyes sharpened. And now he wants something back. Something his wife stole from him before she ran. Han-jun rose smoothly. This conversation is over. It's only beginning. Kang remained seated. You think I'm your enemy? I'm the least of your concerns. Cole has resources that dwarf both our organizations combined. Government connections. Military contacts. If he wants that woman, he won't have her. The words came out sharp. Final. Kang studied him for a long moment. Interesting, he murmured. The half-breed emperor has finally found something he wants to keep. I'm leaving. Think carefully, Han-jun Okoye. Is one woman worth a war? Han-jun paused at the door. He didn't turn. I'll let you know when I've decided. The drive back to Seoul took 2 hours. Han-jun sat in the back of the armored SUV, staring at the passing landscape without seeing it. Marcus Cole. The name burned in his mind. He had underestimated the situation. He had assumed that Amora's husband was a minor threat, wealthy, yes, dangerous in his own sphere, but not connected to the intricate web of Seoul's underworld. He had been wrong. Cole was woven into the fabric of everything Han-jun had built. The money that flowed through his legitimate businesses had been touched, however distantly, by Cole's networks. The politicians he controlled had connections to Cole's influence. Cutting Cole out would require cutting into his own empire. And yet, the alternative was unthinkable. He thought of Amora standing in his mother's garden, surrounded by impossible flowers. He thought of the way she said his name, cautious, but not afraid. He thought of her eyes, brown and deep and full of a strength she didn't know she possessed. He had spent 39 years building an empire of ice. She was melting it. He should have sent her away. Should have given her money and documents and wished her luck. Should have protected his interests, as he always had. Instead, he found himself reaching for his phone. Sejin, he said when she answered. How much do we have on Marcus Cole? Growing. We've traced financial connections to 17 shell companies, identified 6 properties in Seoul that appear to be his, and confirmed his involvement with at least 3 human trafficking operations. His weaknesses? Working on it. Work faster. And Sejin. He paused. Increase security on Miss Adeyemi. She doesn't leave the penthouse. No one gets near her without my approval. Understood. Han-jun. Yes. The Kang meeting. How bad? Han-jun watched the mountains disappear in the rearview mirror. War is coming, he said quietly. Whether we want it or not. Amora knew something was wrong the moment Han-jun returned. She had been in the library, a vast room filled with books in Korean, English, Yoruba, and half a dozen other languages. She had found a collection of Nigerian poetry and had been reading it slowly, each word a small piece of home. Then the door opened. And the temperature dropped. Han-Jun moved through the penthouse like a thunderstorm, controlled, contained, but radiating electricity that made the air tremble. His guards scattered before him. Even Sejin stepped back as he passed. He didn't look at Amora. He went straight to his study and slammed the door. The sound echoed through the silence. Amora set down her book. She should have stayed where she was. Should have respected his obvious desire for solitude. She barely knew this man, owed him gratitude, perhaps, but not intrusion. But something pulled her forward. She knocked on the study door. No answer. She opened it anyway. Han-Jun stood at the window, hands braced against the glass, head bowed. The posture was so unlike his usual perfect control that it stopped her in the doorway. Get out. His voice was raw. No. He turned. The look in his eyes was terrifying, not because it threatened her, but because she recognized it. Desperation. The same desperation she had felt, locked in Marcus's house, watching her world shrink until there was nothing left but survival. Something happened, she said. Tell me. It doesn't concern you. It does if it's about Marcus. Han-Jun's jaw tightened. The silence stretched. Then, he's connected to everything. Everyone. He's been laundering money through my organizations for years. The Kang family knows about you. They know what you're carrying. And they're already calculating how to use you against me. Amora felt the blood drain from her face. I should leave. No. If I'm putting you in danger. No. He crossed the room in 3 strides. Stopped inches from her. This close, she could see the storm raging behind his eyes. The control slipping. The walls cracking. Do you understand what you've done to me? His voice was barely a whisper. I built walls. 40 years of walls, every brick laid with blood and discipline and the absolute certainty that I would never be weak. Never be vulnerable. Never give anyone power over me. His hand rose. Trembling. He touched her face, just his fingertips against her cheek. The gentlest contact imaginable. Amora's breath stopped. And then he continued. You collapsed on a floor I was passing by accident. You looked at me with those eyes. You said please don't like you expected me to hurt you, and all I wanted in that moment, all I've wanted since, is to destroy everyone who ever made you say those words. Tears spilled down Amora's cheeks. She didn't know when she had started crying. I can't want this, she whispered. I can't want you. I barely survived one monster. I'm not him. You're exactly like him. Powerful. Dangerous. Capable of destroying everything you touch. Yes. Han-Jun's thumb traced the path of her tears. But there's one difference. What? I would die before I hurt you. The words broke something open in Amora's chest. A sob escaped her, not fear, not trauma, but something older. Something she had buried so deep she had forgotten it existed. Hope. I can't, she gasped. I can't do this. I can't trust this. I can't. Then don't. He stepped back. His hand fell away. Don't trust me. Don't feel anything for me. I'll still protect you. I'll still destroy anyone who tries to harm you. Whether you care for me or hate me or feel nothing at all. His voice cracked. It won't change what I feel. Amora stared at him. This man, this emperor of ice and violence, standing before her with his heart exposed like a wound. And she realized something terrible. Something wonderful. She wasn't afraid of him. She had been afraid for so long, of so many things. Of Marcus. Of loneliness. Of her own weakness. Of the dark future that stretched before her like an endless night. But standing here, watching Hyunjun break in front of her, she felt no fear. Only recognition. Only the desperate, terrifying pull of one shattered soul toward another. Hyunjun, she said. He looked at her. She moved toward him. Slowly. Deliberately. She reached up and touched his face, the same gesture he had offered her, returned. His eyes closed. His whole body trembled. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. I don't know how to feel this. Everything inside me is broken, and I'm so scared of being broken again. Then let me hold the broken pieces. His arms came around her. Gently. So gently. As if she were made of glass and he was afraid of his own strength. Amora pressed her face into his chest. And for the first time in 5 years, she let herself be held. Marcus Cole arrived at the Schiller Hotel in Seoul with 12 bodyguards, 3 lawyers, and one singular purpose. His wife. He stood at the window of his suite, looking out at the city that had hidden her. His reflection stared back, handsome, polished, every inch the successful businessman the world believed him to be. The world didn't see the darkness beneath. But Amora had seen it. And she had run. Sir. His assistant approached carefully. Everyone around Marcus had learned to move carefully. What? We've received a response from the Kang family. They're willing to meet. Tomorrow evening. And Hyunjun Okoye? Nothing. His organization has gone silent. Our contacts report increased security, restricted communications. Something has shifted. Marcus's jaw tightened. He had underestimated his wife. For 5 years, he had broken her down piece by piece. Isolated her from family. Destroyed her friendships. Controlled her money, her movements, her very thoughts. He had turned her into a perfect accessory, beautiful, silent, obedient. Or so he had thought. But she had been watching. Recording. Building a weapon that could destroy everything he had spent decades constructing. And then she had run. Straight into the arms of Seoul's most dangerous man. The flash drive, Marcus said. What do we know? It contains financial records. Transaction histories. Evidence of various activities. I know what it contains. I want to know how exposed we are. Sir, if that information reaches the wrong hands. Then it won't. Marcus turned from the window. My wife is a frightened woman hiding in a foreign city. She doesn't have resources. She doesn't have protection. She has nothing except whatever misguided kindness a Korean gangster has decided to offer. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. And kindness has never been a match for power. The storm is gathering. Marcus Cole has arrived in Seoul, the Kang family has chosen sides, and Amora finds herself caught between the monster she married and the empire she never asked to enter. But the most dangerous secret is yet to be revealed. What does the flash drive really contain? What is the truth about Hyunjun's past? And what will happen when love collides with war? Stay tuned for the thrilling conclusion. If you're enjoying this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything. The morning after their embrace, something had shifted. Amora woke to silence, the same silence that had surrounded her for weeks in this penthouse. But it felt different now. Warmer. Less like isolation and more like sanctuary. She found Hyunjun in the kitchen again. This time, he wasn't alone. Sejin sat at the marble island, tablet in hand, scrolling through documents with the focused intensity of a general preparing for war. 3 men Amora didn't recognize stood near the windows, speaking in low Korean. Everyone stopped when she entered. Han-Jun's eyes found hers immediately. Something passed between them, acknowledgement of what had happened, what had been said, what remained unspoken. He didn't smile. His face rarely moved toward softness. But his gaze held her. "Sit," he said. "You need to hear this." Amora moved to the island, painfully aware of every eye tracking her. She was an outsider here. A complication. The woman who had stumbled into their carefully constructed world and upset its balance. But Han-Jun pulled out a chair for her himself. His hand brushed her shoulder as she sat down. The tattoo on his wrist, the Yoruba name she still hadn't asked about, caught the morning light. Marcus Cole arrived in Seoul yesterday, Sejin began without preamble. He's staying at the Schiller Hotel. 12-person security detail. He's already made contact with the Kang family and is scheduled to meet with them tonight. Amora's blood went cold. He's here. He's been looking for you for 3 weeks. It was only a matter of time. Han-Jun moved to stand beside her. Not touching. Close enough that she could feel his warmth. "The situation is more complicated than we initially understood," he said. "Cole's connections run deeper than money laundering and human trafficking. He has relationships with intelligence services, governments, people who operate above the law because they are the law. What does that mean for us? It means that eliminating him won't be simple. Killing Marcus Cole would trigger investigations, international attention, political pressure. He's built himself into a keystone. Remove him, and structures collapse in ways we can't control." Amora's hands trembled in her lap. "So what? We just wait. Let him find me." "No." Han-Jun's voice hardened. "We use what you brought. That flash drive contains evidence of crimes that cross jurisdictions, implicate powerful people, threaten systems that governments have spent decades building. The right people, receiving the right information, could dismantle Cole's network from the inside. And if they don't? If his connections protect him? They won't protect him from me." The words carried absolute certainty. Amora looked at him, at this man who had become her shield, her complication, her impossible possibility. "You could walk away," she said quietly. "Give me the flash drive. Give me money to run. Let me disappear. He'd have no reason to come after you. He already has reason." Han-Jun met her gaze. "He knows I've been protecting you. That alone is enough to make him an enemy. But more importantly..." He paused. The room seemed to hold its breath. "I don't want you to disappear." Sejin made a small sound, surprise, perhaps, or resignation. The men by the windows exchanged glances. But Han-Jun's attention remained fixed on Amora. "Whatever happens next," he said, "we face it together." Marcus Cole had learned patience in his youth. Growing up in Lagos, the son of a British diplomat and a Nigerian socialite, he had navigated 2 worlds that rarely overlapped. The world of embassy parties and international schools. The world of street corners and desperate survival. He had learned to wear masks. To smile when he wanted to scream. To calculate when others acted on impulse. Amora had never understood what she married. She saw the charm, the success, the handsome face that photographed so well at charity galas. She didn't see the machine beneath, the cold, calculating engine that viewed human beings as resources to be managed. She had been his finest acquisition. Beautiful. Educated. From a respectable family with useful connections. She complemented his image perfectly, added legitimacy to his public persona, never questioned the business trips or late-night meetings or the money that seemed to multiply without explanation. For 5 years, she had been exactly what he needed. And then she had betrayed him. Marcus stood before the mirror in his hotel suite, adjusting his cufflinks. The meeting with the Kang family was in 2 hours. He had prepared his arguments, assembled his leverage, identified the pressure points that would make them cooperate. Everyone had pressure points. Even Hanjun Okoye. "Tell me about him," Marcus said to his assistant, who waited nervously by the door. "Okoye? He's been running the Han organization for 15 years, since his father's assassination. Mixed heritage, Korean mother, Nigerian father. Educated in Seoul and London. He's expanded the family's operations significantly, moved into legitimate business while maintaining underground control. Weaknesses? Few. He's notoriously private. Doesn't form attachments. There were rumors of a relationship years ago, a woman who betrayed him somehow, but the details are unclear. Everyone has weaknesses. Sir, there's one thing." Marcus turned. His father, the assistant continued carefully. "Park Jin-ho, the man who assassinated Hanjun's father. He wasn't just a rival. He was Hanjun's godfather. A man who had known him since childhood. Interesting. Hanjun killed him personally. In front of witnesses. The organization respects him because they fear him, but also because they know what he's capable of. What he'll sacrifice." Marcus smiled. "Then we know what we're dealing with. A man who protects what's his with absolute violence. A man who has attached himself to my wife." He adjusted his jacket. "This will be easier than I thought." That afternoon, Amora found herself in Hanjun's mother's garden again. She had gravitated there unconsciously, seeking the peace of green things growing, the illusion of a natural world within the steel and glass fortress. The koi pond rippled with silent movement. The flowers bloomed in defiance of their artificial environment. She was sitting on the stone bench when Hanjun found her. "You should eat something," he said. "I'm not hungry." "You've barely eaten in 2 days." Dr. Park is concerned. Dr. Park is always concerned. Hanjun sat beside her. Close. Their shoulders nearly touching. "Tell me about him," he said quietly. "Marcus. Tell me what he did." Amora stiffened. "Why?" "Because I need to understand. I need to know exactly what I'm going to make him pay for." She was silent for a long moment. The koi swam in endless circles. Then she began to speak. It wasn't dramatic at first. No screaming, no violence. He was perfect, charming, attentive, everything I thought I wanted. After my parents died, I was so alone. He appeared like an answer to prayers I didn't know I had been praying. Her voice was flat. Reciting facts. We married quickly. Too quickly, I know that now. Within 6 months of meeting, I was his wife, living in his house, surrounded by his staff. I told myself I was lucky. That I had found security after the chaos of losing everything. She paused. The isolation started slowly. A suggestion that my friends didn't really understand my new life. A concern that my family might be asking for money. Little comments, always delivered with such kindness, that made me pull away from everyone I knew. Hanjun listened without moving. Then the criticism began. My hair wasn't right. My clothes embarrassed him. My opinions were naive. I was too loud at parties. Too quiet at dinners. Nothing I did was ever correct. Tears gathered in her eyes. She blinked them back. The first time he hit me, I told myself it was stress. He apologized so beautifully. Bought me jewelry. Promised it would never happen again. Her laugh was hollow. It always happened again. Hanjun's hands had curled into fists on his knees. The tattoo on his neck seemed to pulse. By the 3rd year, Amora continued, I didn't recognize myself anymore. I couldn't remember what I liked to eat, what music I enjoyed, what I believed about anything. Everything was filtered through him, what he wanted, what he preferred, what would keep the peace. You survived. I disappeared. The woman I used to be, confident, curious, hopeful, she died in that house. What survived was a ghost who knew how to smile at the right moments and cry silently at night. She turned to face him. Until I found the files. He had a safe in his office. I had found the combination months earlier. He thought I was too stupid to remember numbers. One night, while he was traveling, I opened it. Her voice hardened. I expected to find money. Weapons, perhaps. Instead, I found records. Years of transactions. Names I recognized from the news. Evidence of human trafficking operations, women, mostly. Shipped to construction sites across Africa and the Middle East. Worked until they were useless, then disposed of. And you decided to run. I decided that if I was going to die, and I was certain he would kill me eventually, I would take him down with me. I copied everything onto that flash drive. And then I walked out the door while he was at a meeting and never looked back. Silence fell over the garden. The koi continued their endless circling. Amora. Han Jun's voice was rough. She looked at him. I'm going to tell you something, he said. Something I've never told anyone. She waited. My father's killer, Park Jin-ho, wasn't just a rival. He was family. He had been at my christening. He taught me to ride a bicycle. When my mother died, he held my hand at her funeral. Han Jun's jaw tightened. He betrayed us for money. For power. For things that meant nothing compared to what he destroyed. When I discovered the truth, I invited him to dinner, exactly as I told you before. We ate together. We talked about the old days. His eyes met hers. And then I cut his throat with my own hands. Amora didn't flinch. I've never regretted it, Han Jun continued. Not once. But afterward, in those months when I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, I thought I had lost whatever remained of my humanity. I thought the violence had finally consumed everything good in me. He reached out. Took her hand. His fingers were warm against hers. Until I found you on that hospital floor. Until I watched you fight to survive despite everything that had been done to you. Until I realized that humanity isn't about being unmarked by violence, it's about what we do with the scars. Amora's tears finally fell. She didn't try to stop them. I'm going to destroy Marcus Cole, Han Jun said quietly. Not because of the flash drive. Not because of his connections to my enemies. Because he hurt you. Because he tried to erase you. Because he thought he could break something beautiful and there would be no consequences. His thumb traced circles on her hand. There will be consequences. I swear it on my mother's garden and my father's grave. He will pay for every bruise, every tear, every moment of fear. And when it's done. He lifted her hand to his lips. Pressed a kiss against her knuckles. When it's done, you will never be afraid again. The meeting between Marcus Cole and Kang Dae-jung took place in a private room at the Schiller Hotel. Neutral ground. Expensive wine. Two predators circling each other, each calculating the other's value. You want me to deliver the woman to you, Kang said, cutting through pleasantries. The wife who stole evidence that could destroy your operations. I want my property returned. She's not property. She's a person. Marcus smiled. Is there a difference? In our world. Kang studied the British-Nigerian businessman across from him. There was something cold beneath the charming surface. Something that reminded him of men he had known in his youth, men who smiled as they killed, who laughed at suffering, who had burned away their souls for power. Dangerous men. Useful allies. Terrible enemies. Han Junokoye is protecting her, Kang said. His penthouse is a fortress. His organization has gone to war footing. Getting to the woman would require resources I'm not inclined to spend. You've been at war with Okoye for years. This could be your opportunity to finish it. Or it could be a trap that destroys me. Okoye is many things, but he's not careless. If he's protecting this woman so visibly, he has reasons we don't yet understand. Marcus leaned forward. The flash drive she carries, it has information about your operations as well. Construction contracts that served as fronts for money laundering. Shipments that passed through your territory. Names of people in your organization who facilitated transfers. Kang's eyes narrowed. You're threatening me. I'm explaining our mutual interest. If that evidence reaches authorities, or worse, your rivals, it won't just destroy me. It will bring down everyone connected to the network. Silence. What are you proposing? Kang finally asked. A joint operation. Your men provide the numbers. I provide the strategy. Together, we take the woman and the flash drive before anyone else can use them. And Okoye. Marcus smiled again. This time, it reached his eyes. Okoye becomes a necessary casualty. What neither man knew was that Hyunjun had anticipated this meeting. 3 of Kang's most trusted advisors had been on Hyunjun's payroll for years. They reported every word, every glance, every shift in tone. By the time Marcus Cole was returning to his suite, Hyunjun had a complete transcript of the conversation. He read it alone in his study. Then he called Sejin. The Kang family has chosen their side, he said. Begin preparations. What level of response? Hyunjun looked at the transcript again. Okoye becomes a necessary casualty. Total. 3 days passed. 3 days of tense preparation, whispered conversations, and the growing sense that something terrible was approaching. Amora felt it in the air, the way the staff moved faster, the way guards appeared at every corner, the way Hyunjun disappeared for hours and returned smelling of smoke. War was coming. She understood that now. And she was at the center of it. On the 4th night, Hyunjun came to her room. It was late, past midnight. The city glowed beyond the windows like a carpet of stars. Amora had been unable to sleep, had been sitting by the window, watching the lights blur through exhausted eyes. He knocked once. Entered without waiting. We need to talk, he said. Something in his voice made her heart stop. What's happened? Tomorrow night, Marcus Cole and the Kang family are launching an operation. They're coming for you. For the flash drive. For me. Amora stood. How do you know? I've known for 3 days. I've been preparing. Preparing what? Hyunjun moved toward her. In the low light, his features were all sharp angles and shadows. The serpent on his neck seemed to coil tighter. A response. We're going to end this, tomorrow night. Cole, Kang, everyone connected to them. One decisive strike. You're starting a war. I'm finishing one. They declared it when they decided to use you as a weapon. I'm simply going to make sure they lose. Amora's chest tightened. How many people will die? Hyunjun didn't answer immediately. The silence was answer enough. This is my fight, Amora said. Marcus is my husband. My monster. You shouldn't have to. Don't. He closed the distance between them. His hands came up to frame her face, gentle, so gentle, despite the violence coiled in every line of his body. Don't tell me what I should or shouldn't do. Don't try to protect me from consequences I've already accepted. Don't you dare think that your life means less than mine or my empire or anything else in this world. His eyes burned into hers. I would kill 1,000 men to keep you safe. I would burn this city to the ground if it meant you could walk free. I don't care about the cost. I don't care about the consequences. I care about you. Amora's breath caught. Han-jun. I love you. The words fell between them like stones into still water. I don't know when it happened, he continued, voice rough. I don't know how. A week ago, I was a man who had convinced himself that love was weakness, that attachment was vulnerability, that I would never feel anything for anyone ever again. And then you. He pressed his forehead against hers. You looked at me like I was human. Like I was something worth knowing. No one has looked at me that way in 15 years. No one has ever made me want to be better than what I am. Tears streamed down Amora's face. I'm broken, she whispered. So am I. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. I'm scared. So am I. He pulled back just enough to look at her. But I would rather be scared with you than safe without you. I would rather face 1,000 enemies knowing you're beside me than rule an empire knowing you're gone. His thumb traced the line of her tears. Tomorrow, this ends. One way or another. But tonight. He paused. Tonight, I want you to know what you mean to me. In case tomorrow. Don't. Amora pressed her fingers to his lips. Don't talk about tomorrow. Not yet. She replaced her fingers with her mouth. The kiss was soft at first. Tentative. Two broken people learning the shape of each other's edges. Then it deepened. Han-jun's arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. She could feel the controlled strength in him, the power he held in check, the careful gentleness that seemed so at odds with everything he was. She kissed him like she was drowning. Like he was air. Like she had spent 5 years in darkness and he was the first light she had seen. And when he lifted her, carried her to the bed, lowered her onto sheets that smelled of him, she didn't resist. She surrendered. Not to him. To this. To the possibility that love could exist even in broken places. To the hope that she could be more than what Marcus had made her. To the man who had found her on a hospital floor and decided she was worth saving. The scene fades to black as dawn begins to break over Seoul. Morning came too quickly. Amora woke to empty sheets, still warm from Han-jun's body. She reached for him automatically, then stilled when her hand found nothing. He was standing by the window. Fully dressed. Black suit. Tattoos visible where his collar lay open. Ready for war. You should sleep more, he said without turning. I can't. I know. He turned to face her. Something had shifted in his expression. The coldness was back, the mask of the emperor, the face he showed to the world. But beneath it, she could still see the man who had held her in the darkness. Who had whispered promises against her skin. Today, he said. Today. I need you to stay here. In the penthouse. No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, stay here. Security will be tripled. No one will get through. What if you don't come back? The question hung between them. Han-jun crossed the room. Sat on the edge of the bed. Took her hand. There's a safe in my study. The combination is the date of my mother's death, the 20th of April, 1995. If something happens to me, everything inside belongs to you. New identity. Money. Contacts who will help you disappear. You'll be safe. I don't want to be safe without you. And I don't want to die. But I've learned that wanting doesn't change outcomes. Only action does. He kissed her forehead. Stay here. Trust me. And when this is over. He stood. When this is over, I'm going to take you somewhere far from this city. Somewhere with gardens and silence and no one who knows our names. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making you forget that you were ever afraid. Amora grabbed his hand. Han-Jun. He looked at her. I love you too. Something cracked in his mask. For just a moment, she saw everything, the boy he had been, the man he had become, the emperor he performed for the world. She saw his fear and his hope and his desperate, terrifying love. Then the mask returned. I know, he said quietly. And he was gone. The operation began at nightfall. Han-Jun had spent 15 years building the infrastructure for exactly this moment. Networks of loyal soldiers. Contacts in law enforcement and government. Intelligence assets that stretched from Seoul to Lagos to London. When he moved with precision. The Kang compound was hit first. 3 teams, 12 men each, targeting strategic positions. Not a massacre, a decapitation. Leadership eliminated. Communication disrupted. The old man who had underestimated him dying with surprise on his weathered face. Kang Dae-jung's final words were a curse in Korean. Han-Jun didn't hear them. He was already moving to the next target. Marcus Cole was dining at the Schiller when the power went out. Emergency lights flickered on. His bodyguards surrounded him immediately, forming a protective circle. What's happening? We don't know, sir. Communications are down. We're trying to. The first bodyguard dropped. Then the second. Then the third. They fell in perfect sequence, dropped by silent gunfire from shadows that shouldn't have contained anything. Marcus found himself standing alone in the emergency-lit dining room. Surrounded by the bodies of men who were supposed to protect him. And in the doorway. Han-Jun Okoye. He stepped over the bodies without looking down. His suit was immaculate. His eyes were death. Mr. Cole, he said. We haven't been formally introduced. Marcus Cole was not a man who frightened easily. He had built an empire on bones. Had ordered deaths without flinching. Had watched men beg for mercy and felt nothing but contempt for their weakness. But looking at Han-Jun Okoye, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Fear. You're making a mistake, Marcus said. I have resources you can't imagine. Connections that extend beyond anything you've built. Kill me, and you'll spend the rest of your life running from governments, from agencies, from powers that will never stop hunting you. I know. Han-Jun moved closer. I've counted the costs. I've calculated the consequences. I've accepted what comes next. For a woman? Marcus laughed, a sound that rang hollow in the silent room. You're destroying your empire for a woman who was nothing more than a broken toy I was finished playing with. She's not a toy. Han-Jun was in front of him now. Close enough that Marcus could see the tattoos crawling up his neck. Close enough to see the cold, measured violence in his eyes. She's not broken. She's not nothing. She's the woman who survived you, who escaped you, who had the courage to fight back when anyone else would have surrendered. His voice dropped. And she's mine. Yours. Marcus spat. You think you can have her? You think she'll ever be whole again? I spent 5 years reshaping her, breaking every piece of who she used to be. Whatever you have now, it's not a woman. It's a collection of scars I carved. Han-Jun's hand shot out. Grabbed Marcus by the throat. Lifted him until his feet left the ground. I'm going to tell you something, Han-Jun said, voice terrifyingly calm. Something I want you to understand in whatever moments you have left. Marcus clawed at the hand around his throat. Couldn't break the grip. I've killed men for less than what you've done. I've destroyed families for minor disrespect. I've burned entire operations because someone looked at me wrong. Han-Jun's grip tightened. But what I'm going to do to you, it's not about my empire. It's not about the flash drive. It's not about the Kang family or your connections or anything else you think matters. His eyes burned. It's about her. Every bruise. Every tear. Every moment of fear. You're going to pay for all of it. And when you're dying, when you're taking your last breath, I want you to know that she's going to be loved for the rest of her life. That she's going to heal. That she's going to be happy. He leaned closer. And you'll be nothing but a bad memory she eventually forgets. Marcus's vision was darkening. His lungs screamed for air. Please, he gasped. Please. The same words Amora had said, 1,000 times, to a man who never listened. Han Jun released him. Marcus collapsed to the floor, gasping. I'm not going to kill you, Han Jun said. Hope flickered in Marcus's eyes. I'm going to give the flash drive to every intelligence agency, every news organization, every government that wants to see you destroyed. I'm going to make sure that the network you spent decades building crumbles into dust. I'm going to watch as your allies abandon you, as your protectors sacrifice you, as everything you valued is stripped away piece by piece. He crouched down. Met Marcus's terrified gaze. And then, when you're alone, when you have nothing left, I'm going to let you live. Because dying is easy. But living in the ruins of everything you built. Watching the world move on without you. Knowing that the woman you tried to destroy is thriving while you rot. His smile was cold. That's justice. Han Jun stood. Take him. Men emerged from the shadows. Marcus was lifted, bound, carried away. His screams echoed through the silent hotel. No one came to help. Amora was standing at the window when Han Jun returned. She had been there for hours. Watching the city lights. Watching the sky lighten toward dawn. Waiting. The door opened. She turned. He stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the hallway light. His suit was no longer immaculate, dark stains marked the fabric, and exhaustion carved lines in his face. But he was alive. He was home. It's done, he said. Amora crossed the room. She didn't ask about the blood on his clothes. She didn't ask about the men he had killed. She simply wrapped her arms around him and held on. His body shuddered. The Emperor cracked. He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair, breathing her in like oxygen after drowning. It's done, he repeated. I know. You're safe. I know. I love you. I know. They stood there, wrapped in each other, as dawn broke over Seoul. The city below continued its endless movement, unaware that empires had shifted, that wars had ended, that two broken people had found each other in the wreckage and decided to survive. Together. 3 months later. The villa sat on the coast of Jeju Island, overlooking waters that stretched toward horizons Amora was still learning to believe in. Han Jun had kept his promise. After the dust settled, after the flash drive's contents had brought down governments and criminal networks across 3 continents, after Marcus Cole had been arrested and extradited to face trials that would consume the rest of his life, they had disappeared. Not running. Choosing. The villa had gardens that reminded Amora of Han Jun's mother's impossible flowers. It had silence that felt like peace rather than isolation. It had rooms that held no memories of pain. It had them. Amora stood on the terrace, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of orange and gold. Her body had healed completely, the bruises long faded, the weight returned, the trembling finally stilled. Her soul was taking longer. But that was okay. She had time now. She had time and safety in a man who looked at her like she was the answer to prayers he had forgotten how to pray. Han Jun appeared behind her. His arms wrapped around her waist. His chin rested on her shoulder. The tattoo on his neck, the serpent, the Insibidi symbol, the marks of violence and heritage, pressed against her cheek. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That I don't deserve this." "That's a lie." "I know." But I've spent so long believing it that it's hard to stop. He turned her to face him. The cold emperor was gone now. In his place was a man learning softness. Learning gentleness. Learning that strength could include tenderness. You deserve everything, he said. Every good thing this world has to offer. Every moment of peace. Every year of healing. Everything I can give you and more. Tears gathered in her eyes. Happy ones. She was still learning the difference. I love you, she said. I love you. He kissed her, slow, deep, full of promises they were both learning to keep. When they broke apart, the sun had set completely. Stars were beginning to emerge. I have something for you, Han-jun said. He reached into his pocket. Pulled out a small box. Amora's breath caught. I'm not asking you to marry me, he said quickly. Not yet. We both have too many scars, too much healing still to do. But this. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, a diamond that caught the starlight like captured fire. This is a promise. That I will wait. That I will be patient. That when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. For as long as you want me. Amora looked at the ring. Then at him. Yes, she said. You don't have to. I know. But yes. Not marriage. Not yet. But yes to the promise. Yes to the waiting. Yes to building whatever comes next, together. He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Like it had been made for her. Like she had been made for this moment, this man, this impossible second chance. I didn't know, she whispered. Know what? That this was possible. That after everything, after Marcus, after running, after being so broken I couldn't remember my own name, I didn't know that life could still hold this. Han-jun pulled her close. Neither did I. They stood together under the emerging stars. Two broken people. One impossible love. And the promise of tomorrow stretching before them, uncertain, yes, but no longer terrifying. For the first time in years, Amora believed in the future. For the first time in his life, Han-jun allowed himself to hope. And the darkness that had defined them both began, slowly, to lift. The wedding was small. 50 guests, gathered in the garden of the Jeju villa. White flowers everywhere, the same impossible blooms from Han-jun's mother's garden, transplanted and thriving in the coastal air. Amora wore white. Not because tradition demanded it. Because she had earned it. Because the woman she had become, healed, strong, capable of joy, deserved to stand before the people she loved and celebrate the future she had fought to claim. Han-jun waited at the altar. He wore a black suit, perfect as always. But his eyes were soft. His mask had been retired, at least here, among family and chosen loved ones. He was no longer the emperor, the sovereign, the cold machine that had ruled Seoul's underworld. He was simply a man. In love. Ready to make promises he intended to keep. As Amora walked toward him, she thought of everything that had led to this moment. The collapse in the hospital corridor. The man who had stopped to help. The secrets and violence and impossible choices. The healing that had seemed impossible and had come anyway. She thought of Marcus, rotting now in a prison somewhere, stripped of everything he had valued, forgotten by the world he had tried to control. She thought of the woman she had been, frightened, broken, convinced she would never be whole. And she thought of the woman she was now. Standing in sunlight. Surrounded by love. Walking toward a future she had chosen for herself. Han-jun took her hands as she reached him. You're beautiful, he murmured. You're not supposed to say that yet. I've never been good at following rules. She laughed. He smiled. The guests faded away. The minister spoke words that washed over them like ocean waves. And when the moment came for vows, Han-jun spoke first. "I vow to protect you," he said. "Not because you need protecting, but because protecting you is my greatest privilege. I vow to listen when you speak and hold you when you cry. I vow to be patient when the old scars ache and gentle when the old fears return." His voice roughened. "I vow to love you, broken pieces and all. To build a life with you that honors who we've become. To never let you forget that you are worthy of every good thing." He lifted her hand. Kissed the ring he had given her a year ago. "You saved me," he whispered. "I didn't know I needed saving. But you saved me." Tears streamed down Amora's face. "Happy ones. Always happy ones now." "I vow to trust you," she said. "Even when trust feels impossible. I vow to believe in us, in this love we've built from ruins. I vow to keep healing, keep growing, keep becoming the woman I was meant to be." She squeezed his hands. "I vow to love you. Not perfectly, we're both too scarred for perfect. But truly. Fiercely. For as long as we have." The minister spoke. They exchanged rings. And when Han-jun kissed her, there, in the garden, surrounded by impossible flowers and the people who had witnessed their journey, Amora felt something settle in her chest. Peace. The kind she had forgotten existed. The kind she had earned. That night, they stood together on the terrace. The wedding guests had gone. The stars had emerged. The ocean whispered its eternal song below. "What happens now?" Amora asked. Han-jun wrapped his arms around her. "Whatever we want. We're free. I don't know what to do with freedom. Neither do I. But we'll figure it out together." She leaned back against him. Felt his heartbeat against her spine. Steady. Strong. Hers. "I'm not scared anymore," she realized. "I know. I'm happy. I know. Is this real? Is this actually happening?" Han-jun turned her to face him. The tattoo on his neck caught the starlight. The serpent seemed almost gentle now. "This is real," he said. "You're safe. You're loved. And I'm never letting you go." He kissed her. Long. Deep. Full of promises already kept and promises still to come. And Amora, the woman who had collapsed on a hospital floor, certain she would never rise again, kissed him back. Because she had risen. She had healed. She had found love in the last place she expected, in the arms of a man who was supposed to be a monster, who had turned out to be exactly what she needed. Not a savior. A partner. Not a new cage. A home. The darkness that had defined them was finally gone. In its place, light. Fragile at first, but growing stronger every day. The light of two broken people who had chosen each other. Who had chosen healing. Who had chosen love. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything. Remember, no matter how broken you feel, healing is possible. Love is possible. And you are worthy of both. Until next time.